All right, so here we are with um, I don't know, a special project, something that is near and dear to both of our hearts. Kids with special needs, behavior modification, and just we're here to help other parents. That's the whole
Yes.
purpose of this,
Hmm.
is to just help. My name, for those who don't know, my name is Annie Huff, and I work with children in special needs. And again, like I say, just here to help. Okay. So share with our audience who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is Sonia Bell, and I am a mom of four. I have two with special needs,
Mhm.
and I'm also a holistic health educator.
Okay, great. And we're both here to help. Okay.
Hmm.
So take this journey with us and
Yes,
let's see where it goes. And if we can help one family, one child, multiple families, multiple children, it's all worth it. All right.
exactly.
So, tell me, Sonia, when did you first notice that something was different? What age and what did you see?
I first noticed right before he turned two,
Okay.
right around the age of right a few months before he turned two. He stopped talking. He
Mm.
stopped looking at us, giving us eye contact,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew something was a little off. We thought maybe it was his hearing. And
Mm.
my first thought was, well, maybe he had a ear infection, and he was one of those kids that didn't have any symptoms of an ear infection, and maybe it just went unnoticed. It was actually during a process of us moving from one city to a new city,
Okay.
and I just thought, well, maybe I just missed something. Maybe he was sick and we didn't know it. So I
Mm.
didn't realize. It wasn't until we thought we need to just have him further, just have him tested to
Mm-hmm.
make sure we didn't miss something, because it was just like a very noticeable, he's not hearing me. We would call
Right.
his name, and normally he would just turn immediately, but he didn't. It was like it was, I thought maybe he was deaf.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. So once you realize that, as a mom, we want to do whatever we can to help our kids. What action did you take to to try to remedy the situation yourself?
Well, the first thing we did, we set up an appointment for a hearing evaluation.
Okay.
That was the first thing we did,
Okay.
because I thought it was his hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So we took him to the Atlanta School for the Deaf.
Hmm.
At that time, and I don't know about now, but they offered free uh, hearing screenings.
Okay.
So they said that his hearing was fine. They didn't see any inflammation, any fluid,
Wow.
nothing. His hearing was fine. And I thought,
Wow.
okay, well, it's not his hearing. So then we thought, well, let's just have a speech therapist do an evaluation. So we had two different speech therapists do an evaluation, and they both said, I think you need to have him further tested to rule out autism. One said
Really?
autism, one said PDD, pervasive developmental disorder. You know,
Mm.
and it was interesting. The first speech therapist, she was in tears. She was like, because she worked with my husband at the time, and she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you need to have him further tested.
Really?
And by this time, we clearly know something is wrong. We clearly know something is not right, because he's not hearing us, he's not giving us eye contact
Mm-hmm.
anymore, and we don't really know what it is. And we thought, okay, I was like, okay, let's just have him tested. Let's find
Right.
out what's going on.
Right.
And the pediatrician referred us to, and I cannot remember the name of this particularly, but it was a pediatric developmental specialist
Mm-hmm.
in Augusta. So we went down there and had that appointment, the first appointment, and she did her test, her evaluation, and she did tell me that he had autism.
Mm.
That was a diagnosis.
Okay.
And I remember clearly asking her, and by this time he's turned two.
Okay.
We started seeing symptoms right before he turned two. By now
Mm.
he's turned two. And I asked her, well, what can I expect by the time he's an adult?
Right.
And she said, you can expect some symptoms or no symptoms.
Wow.
So she didn't really tell me anything, you know.
And it's such a huge range, like some to none.
Mhm.
I guess the autism spectrum is so broad,
Mhm.
it's really hard to pinpoint, where
That's
kids
true.
are. Okay, so at this point, once you realized you needed help, right?
Mhm.
You sought out that help. What did you what type of help did you seek, and why did you choose that type of help?
Okay, that's a good question. Let's see. We we knew we wanted we knew we needed help for sure. Once I had that one word,
Right.
autism,
Yeah.
because I just wanted to know what was going on with him. So when I
Mm.
had that word, I said, okay, okay. See me, I'm very spiritual,
Mhm.
and I know I can't do it,
Mhm.
and so I prayed.
Yeah.
And I prayed and I said, okay, Lord, now you have blessed me with this child. I
Mhm.
need help.
Mhm.
So I prayed. I said, I need help.
Mhm.
And then I prayed and I just forgot, I just went on and see what can I do now. I prayed. Now I just need to, what do I do as a mom?
Right.
I had two older kids, which is important to know. I had two older kids, and at the time they were 4 and 6.
Mm.
So I had a 6, 4, and now this 2-year old recently diagnosed with autism, and we went for a whole year. Um, we went for a whole year, and I didn't know it was a lot of trial and error. I'll say trial and error.
Right.
People had told me about gluten-free diet,
Okay.
but I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I never knew what a gluten-free diet was. And so then it
Mhm.
was like, okay, I don't know where to start.
Okay.
And so for the first year, and we did have the doctor did recommend speech therapists
Okay.
and occupational therapy.
Right.
So we did that. And there were a lot of changes on it. There was so much in the very beginning. It
Yeah.
was very overwhelming,
Yeah.
you know.
Now let me ask you. I just want to back up just a little bit. We hear the word autism.
Mhm.
It could mean so many things.
Mhm.
When you first got that diagnosis and you
Mhm.
heard that word, what did that mean to you? And how did you feel? What went on in your mind when you heard autism?
Honestly, this is a weird reaction, but I was somewhat relieved
Okay.
because I wanted to know what it was. And so when I had that definition, I was like, okay, okay, we can go with this. And so I was up late at night on my computer researching what. Like,
Mhm.
I'm the type of person who really don't want to use medication unless I have to use
Mhm.
medication. That's
Mhm.
just me.
Mhm.
So I prayed and I said, okay, what can I do that won't require medication?
Right.
But if I have to,
Right.
then I will, right?
Right. Right.
And so we did therapy, like I said, speech therapy,
Mhm.
occupational therapy, and then a year later, I found, and it was a blessing because I found this integrative doctor.
Mm.
So he was
Mhm.
on the alternative spectrum,
Okay.
right? And so I had been praying, like, okay, what can I do? And when I found this doctor, and I knew he had a specialized area of autism,
Mm.
I knew he was like for me, right?
Okay.
And he gave me a whole list of things to do, starting with diet.
Okay.
So someone had said gluten free, but they didn't give me any instructions on gluten free. I didn't know I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And so now I have someone who's telling me, okay, yes, gluten free, so no gluten. He
Mhm.
also said no dairy. He also said, decrease the sugar, because he
Mm.
did he did a stool sample. He
Wow.
did blood work, and he found that he also had a digestive disorder called leaky gut.
Wow.
And a lot of kids on the spectrum, they do have digestive problems.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Now, to change the diet, right?
Mhm.
So, of course, you had to put some thought into now.
Mhm.
I have this child
Mhm.
that has some dietary modifications.
Mhm.
Did you apply that to the whole family,
Mhm.
or did you just apply it to, your child?
It was easier for me to use the whole family.
Hmm.
Like I was a stay-at-home mom, at that time, and I had the time first of all to do the research,
Hmm.
and I did it for the whole family. It was just easier, So
Okay.
I started making gluten-free meals, and I just did it for the whole family. And I noticed that it also changed the behavior because I didn't mention my older child was diagnosed with ADHD,
Okay.
and
Hmm.
so she was on, ADHD. She was hyper. Oh my gosh, she was literally bouncing off the walls. Oh my gosh. And it was like a double blessing. I was like, wow, because all of a sudden I
Hmm.
noticed she's calm. I was like, wow, okay. And I wasn't even expecting that. Here
Okay.
I am looking at trying to focus on the child with
Hmm.
autism,
Hmm.
not realizing and looking at this one over here with
Right.
ADHD,
Right.
and how this same, nutritional changes, dietary changes is affecting both and the typical kid too.
Okay.
Don't leave him out.
Okay.
That's the thing that I've learned, that it's not it's good for all of them.
Okay.
But the ones that have a diagnosis of ADHD or autism or what have you, they're neurologically more sensitive, so they
Mm.
are affected by the chemicals in the food
Okay.
more, I guess quicker.
Okay.
But still, the kids that are quote unquote normal or don't have a diagnosis, it also impacts them too.
Right.
I
So,
saw that.
so for those of you watching, we'll get into that a lot more as the series develops. Just she'll break down gluten and all of the preservatives and just so many things that children with autism or on the spectrum or have behavior concerns that need to stay away from. So we'll get into that a lot further, but we wanted to touch on it. Now let
Hmm.
me ask you this. I think
Okay.
I recall you saying that you went to a pediatrician.
Yes.
Now, what's different? How would a pediatrician respond to a parent who says, "Oh, I think something is wrong," as opposed to a holistic doctor?
Okay. The holistic doctor or the pediatrician, typically, because we have had a regular pediatrician, we still do, typically will see, well, they don't do the diagnosis, so they referred me out to the specialist. But then once I got the diagnosis, the pediatrician looks at medications, like, okay, well, what can we do to help with these symptoms,
Right.
And I didn't want to do that.
Okay.
So the holistic doctor looked at, okay, how can we help and support using diets? That's when we changed the diet,
Right.
which, but that was one thing. And also the holistic doctor did more testing.
Okay.
Remember, he did the blood test,
Right. Right.
and he also did a stool culture,
Hmm.
because he was looking at other things more than just,
The
okay,
whole child.
exactly, the whole
Right.
child.
Yeah.
So yeah, they went, I think, a little bit further.
Hmm.
And then he spent more time with me.
Mm.
Like the pediatrician, they only have a certain amount of time, and that's not their fault. That's just the way
Right.
that insurance dictates
Now,
that.
what would you say to a parent who might say, "Oh, I'm going to take him to the pediatrician"? I mean, what advice? I know you said they took more time, they ran multiple tests.
Mhm.
What would you say to a parent who's watching who feels like, "Well, I took him to the pediatrician"? I mean,
Mhm.
what advice would you give them? Would you just, like you said, they take more time, they take more tests,
Mhm.
they're able to make a diagnosis, the holistic doctor as opposed to the pediatrician?
Well, if a parent came to me and said that I've gone to a pediatrician, now what?
Hmm.
What else can I do?
Right.
Then I guess I would ask that parent, a few questions like, or you satisfied with the answer that the pediatrician gave you? How do you feel about that? I
Right.
wasn't.
Right.
So because I wasn't, I knew I needed to do more.
Hmm.
And so then that's when I sought after and also met in the therapist's office. And for me, it goes back to prayer. Like
Okay.
I pray
Hmm.
and I ask the Lord to help me, to help guide me.
Right.
And so I found this integrative doctor. And then also when I was in the waiting room at the pediatrician or the pediatric therapy clinic when he was receiving speech therapy and
Yes.
occupational therapy. I met another parent,
Okay.
another mom, who she also gave me more information. And
Mm.
I think that's important too, to just seek after other moms, other
Mhm.
parents,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
are doing the same in the same situation you're in.
Right.
There's support groups somewhere
Right.
out there,
Right.
sometimes, and then you can network and you can ask questions like, well, what
Right.
are you doing?
Right.
And
Right.
so, and moms or dads, grandparents,
Mhm.
whoever, they're so eager sometimes to just really open the gates
Right.
and just pour out information.
Right.
This mom told me about a different doctor,
Mm.
which was very important because the doctor that got us started, he's got us started and then he moved.
Oh.
He moved out of state. So when I met this mom, she was like, okay, here's another blessing right here.
Mhm.
And she told me about a different doctor in Atlanta that we went to see, and we still see her off and on now.
Okay.
But and this mom gave me different food recommendations.
Okay.
She had already tried. I was like, and that's great. It's like when you find a great recipe or
Mhm.
good food, you can't wait to go share
Right.
it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's how it was. She was like, oh, and you need to try this and you need to
Mhm.
try that. I was like, okay, okay.
Right.
So it was nice, but yeah, I would say for if you're just at the pediatrician's office and you're not satisfied,
Mhm.
go beyond the pediatrician's
Mhm.
office. Find a support group, get into your community. Nowadays, oh my gosh, there's so many autism support groups, autism networks
Mhm.
available.
Right. You don't have
And
to feel like you're
you're
alone.
not
You're not
alone.
you're
You're
not
not
alone.
alone. You're
Okay. You're
not
not
alone.
alone.
There's so many resources that are available,
Right.
but you have to go out and just search. Go on Facebook,
Mhm.
Instagram, and just Google what type of resources are available in your community for autism, if it's autism, if it's ADHD, if it's just behavior, modifications, and you'll be surprised at what resources are available.
Right. Okay. Well, there you have it. This is the first of our installation of behavior modification, children with special needs, autism, just a spectrum of situations that you as a parent might be facing with your child. And we just wanted to start this session just off with some basic questions. There'll be more to come. And we just wanted you to know you are not alone,
No.
and there are resources and information out to help. We'll have links attached below, and we'll just take this journey together.
That's right.
Okay, so bye.
Bye.